All right, we have a double parasha. Which parasha?
Acharei-Kedoshim.
Acharei-Kedoshim. And I want to, give him a big plate. I want to talk to you about Parasha, but if you have a big plate, you have to take a big amount, big portion. Let's talk a little bit about Parashat Kedoshim because I feel it really has a lot to do with our situation. There were some points that could actually help us in our situation today. So Parashat Kedoshim starts with this really epic statement of Kedoshim Tiyu Ki Kadosh Ani, right? Because you should be holy, because I am holy and I'm your God. That's it. From a Kabbalistic psychological problem, this verse raises a lot of questions. There's a tremendous question here. How is it possible for a human being to be holy like God? Isn't that a demand that could lead you to a cognitive dissonance or to a sensation of constant inferiority? And I can't, to the point that you're going to say, you know what, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I'm done. How can you be holy as God? It's impossible. So let's look into that. Because the Torah does not tell us things that we cannot do. So we need to see. We have to understand what the Torah says. Eitan, take some. There's also a cerveza in the thing on the bottom. So according to, let's look at this from a Kabbalistic point of view. The Kabbalah refers to Kedusha as the elimination of the concept of tzimtzum, of narrowing, of condensing, of stress, and so on and so forth. And you find it especially in the writings of the Ramak, Rabbi Moshe Cordoverio, and in the Chassidut. The Kedusha is not separating from the world, but rather exposure of unity. That's what it is. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, is called Kadosh, holy, because he's separated. What do you mean separated? It's not that he's separate from the world. He is above the definitions or the worldly definition. We cannot define God in terms that we have within our universe. We can't. That's why God cannot be a man. That's the way it is. When we are commanded to be holy, the Torah asking from us to do an action of bitul. Bitul means to dismantle, to dismiss. Now, we're not talking about dismantling or dismissing your own personality, but the Torah is asking us to dismiss or to cancel the I which is separated. The sense for it's good to have individualism and it's good to have individuals, but not the individual who likes to be separated from everybody to live on his own and not be a part of the world. The Kabbalistic holiness is referred to as the ability to live within matter, within this world, to eat, to work, to hang around, right? But without allowing the matter to determine our actions and to control our actions. In other words, you want to eat? Of course, you have to eat. You have to eat because you are commanded to take care of your body. However, when is it that you let the matter, the chomer, the bruteness take over you? When you're eating above and beyond what you should be eating. In other words, you go to a smorgasbord, right? You go to a wedding, there's a beautiful buffet there of 80 different things there, and okay, how much can you eat? How big is your stomach? Your stomach is this big. Are you eating this big? This is your stomach. This is your stomach, this is your heart, right? But you're eating like this big, and it's already painful, but you can't stop because it's free, and it's delicious. That is letting the chomer override you. So kedusha is putting it within boundaries, the needs and so on and so forth, within limitation. When a person sanctifies himself, he turns his kli, his vessel, which is the body, the soul, and so on and so forth, for a kind of, let's call it a pipe or a vein for the light of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the light of God, to come down to this world. And here, therefore, according to the Kabbalah, Kedoshim Tiyu means don't let the tzimtzum of the world, the hardship of the world, the difficulties that come and so on and so forth, to hide the source of the light. In other words, to hide God from your sight. Don't let it do so. And you see, it's very hard. People always ask, where's God? Where's God? Where's God? Questions come up like this is, you know that the person is not holy, is not in a state of holiness, and he quite questionable how much God is there in his life, or how much he's aware of God in his life. We were going to talk about philosophical and so on and so on, but if we're going to look at this, the philosophical message here is very clear, it's very sharp, and Kabbalistically. Kedusha, holiness, is not escaping of life, but rather a form of life within life itself. It's a state of being within life itself. You don't escape from life. You just change the way you present or you stand within life. In other words, the Kedusha, holiness, is not somewhere on a mountain. You don't need to go on a mountain, but rather holiness is being determined by the relationship between people. The more I was working on this, the sadder I got in terms of realizing, let's say, for example, certain things that are happening in Israel, and especially movements within the religious world. And I'll be honest with you, it made me very sad. And I was debating, I had another Dvar Torah completely different about the garments of the Kohen Gadol, but I decided I want to talk about this, and then I decided, well, maybe I don't want to, because it made me sad. So, if we are in a society, or we as a group of people, are not having good relationships, the interpersonal relationship, it basically means that we are not holy. There's no holiness in us. And that fact made me very sad. So in Kabbalah, the word, and in Halacha, and in the Gemara, the concept of Kadosh, of holy, is also means separated. But not separated to be removed or to be far, but rather to be able to connect. Here, by the way, there's a chulent over there. Sit over there, take some chulent. It's good. But rather you separate in order to create an appropriate connection. What does it mean? If we're going to talk about electricity, right, we need to have a complete separation between plus and minus. We have to have. Because if we don't create that separation, there's no flow, there's no current. Current cannot go. So is mankind. When he's able, thank you, Mother. When he's able to determine between a lie and the truth, or the truth and a lie, between internal to external, when a person is able to distinguish and to pinpoint between what is important and what is not important, that creates a current of life within you, in your life. So therefore, Kedusha, holiness, is the ability to distinguish that leads you to a true unity. If your path is not bringing you, regardless if you think you're right and he thinks he's wrong, that if you think you're always right and the other guy is always wrong, you're not in the right path. you are missing out on the concept of holiness. You need to be able to see it and then to bring together. What could we do to bring together? And that's what Aaron HaKohen did. Aaron HaKohen was Ish Rodev, so he would pursue this unity. He would make people come together. If two people had a fight, he would make them come together. He would find the good in this one and the good in this one. He would find what he says is true and he says is true, and he says, listen, on that matter, both of you are right, so come together. That's what Aaron did. So if you are not able to, in your conduct, in the way you operate, to actually bring yourself to true unity, you are lacking on Kedusha. So from a psychological point of view, there is a paradox of the I, in Hebrew called the ani, the I. So in existential psychology, the concept is that man is always looking for meaning beyond himself. You're always looking for a greater meaning. And of course, Viktor Frankl claimed that a person needs self-transcendence in order to be able to move. Parashat Kedoshim offers us a fascinating psychological model where the Kedusha, holiness, is the bridge between individualism to altruism. That's what it does. Now we have to pay attention to the fact that the parasha starts with Kedoshim Tihiyu, which is a personal spiritual mission or effort, and immediately goes right after that Kedoshim Tihiyu, who you and you, and after that immediately it connects the concept of Kedusha to social commandments, social mitzvot. For example, Lo ta'amod al dam recha. You see somebody's making a mistake, help him, right? Somebody's hungry, help him. Lifnei iver lo teten mikshol. Don't stumble people. And that means if you don't stumble, not to stumble people, therefore you need to be able to conduct yourself in an honest manner all the time, including business, including anything in life. Whether you sell a car or you sell a building, you got to be honest, right? Because you are stumbling another person. And the peak of that, of course, is ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You should love your fellow human being as much as you would like yourself. And it's this psychological question here, or philosophical, it's so deep here. And it tells us that, again, Kedusha is not a state of mind of secluding yourself on top of a mountain or inside a cave or in a desert or something like this. Is the ability to see within the other, in other words, the people around you, a divine reflection or the same divine reflection that is shining inside of me. In other words, I know that I have a part of God inside of me, which is my soul, the spark, but you have also, and it's the same spark in all of us. I need to be able to see that also. In other words, I know that I'm unique, but I'm not more unique than you, and you are no more unique than me. We equal in terms of God. In the eyes of God, we're all equal. And that is true to all humanity. And that's why Judaism, in that fact, is not a racist theology. All humanity. That's why Judaism in the Torah does not start with, one time there was a guy, his name was whatever, and he was the best human being. No. The Torah starts, there was one person, it's called Adam. Mm-hmm. And from Adam and Eve, and of course, guys, not Adam and Steve, right? Adam and Eve, all humanity came about. And therefore, the more we see ourselves separated, the more impure we are. We're all humans. On a higher level than that, you need to be able to see all creation as a part of you as well. And that, of course, that's why you have to be responsible not to desecrate the land. You can pollute it. You have to take care. You can hurt animals. You can't hurt anyone. Everybody is God's creation. So it really is an amazing. So therefore, when I'm hurting someone, I'm hurting my friend, or hurting another person, what happens to you is you affecting and you are hurting your own holiness, your own kedusha. When you speak lashon hara about somebody else, you're hurting yourself. How am I hurting myself? Okay, argument's sake, chad v'shalom. Let's say I spoke lashon hara to Idan about Mark, right? So I understand. When I spoke, I hurt Mark by saying bad things about him. I understand that I hurt you because now you don't see Mark like this and so on and so forth. Now you're going to be lonely. You're not going to have friends. But am I hurting myself? I didn't hurt myself. I actually feel good, right? That's usually what happens. Oh, I got him. I told everybody about him. What are you doing? How are you hurting yourself? You're hurting your own holiness. Your holiness level goes down and down and down and down to the point that you're going to be impure. You might do the mitzvot and so on and so forth. But a person that constantly speaks lashon hara, let's say he puts tefillin on, it will be maybe the same thing as a cow. If a cow puts tefillin, it's okay. There's no kedusha in you. You're not holy. You're hurting other people. And lashon hara is very easy because it's like right there in the open. So, and why is that? Because in the spiritual domain, right, we are all considered, as I said to you before, one entity. What does it mean, one entity? Let's say, for example, I have a pinky toe that I don't like. I don't think, argument's sake, my left pinky toe, my pinky in my hand, I don't really like it. I don't know, I think it had to be a different shape. So I'm going to take a hammer, and I'm going to whack it, like a nice sledgehammer, like a 4-pound, nothing big, bang, bang it. My whole body's going to shatter. That's painful. Or let's say I don't like the shape of my nail. Let me just pull it out. Ow! It hurts. The whole body hurts. Because, what are you, a fool? This is connected to you. The same thing to the other person. We all, God's creation. You're hurting him. You're hurting everybody. And that is why when we have this, Ani Hashem, I'm Hashem, it's a reminder to us that about this unity that we all have to be, that we all have to have. Ani Hashem always refers to that. So now, when it says Ani Hashem, this is not to do so big, it's not to scare you. Like, why should I do it? Because I said so. Because I am God. Because I'm the boss. Because I'm your dad. No, it's not because of that. It's not to scare you, but rather is an invitation to remember really who you are. God's creation. And according to Kabbalah, the neshama, as we say, is a chelek eloka mimal, is a part of God from above. In other words, that demand to be holy is not an external demand, but rather a call to adjust yourself to your true essence. You have to be truthful to be holy. You have to really know who you are to be holy. You have to stop with the fake and the games and the masks and the whole thing that we all put on ourselves. Then you could be holy. From a philosophical point of view, the Kedusha, holiness, is what I said to you before, is like the space in between us. the philosopher Emmanuel Lawrence saw the Kedusha, holiness, as the complete and absolute responsibility to the other. I need to be absolutely responsible to the other. I read stories about people during October 7th, for example, and how people sacrificed their lives to save other people. They did not think about themselves. They all thought about others. For all you know, those people, for example, could have been, eating not kosher and, not keeping Shabbat and so on and so forth. But this ultimate responsibility to the other made them holy. And that's why all these people, all the soldiers and all these people, they're all Kedoshim. They're all holy people. It didn't make a difference what you did in your life beforehand. The Kedusha is determined by your ability to see or seek responsibility for the other. If you sit down, for example, and learn Torah all day long in the koilel, and you're doing this and the da-da-da-da-da, and you don't feel responsible enough to say, listen, my brothers and sisters are dying over there, they're giving I'm just going to sit here. I don't know how holy you are. What are you willing to do for the other? What are you willing to do to get out of your way for the other person? Here, Mark, you want some? So, in Parashat Kedoshim, as I said to you before, the Kedusha is not in the heaven. It's in the human dynamics. Of course, very famous, people will get upset at me, but I don't care. Martin Buber spoke about the relationship between the me and the you. In Kedoshim Tihiyu, Ki Kadosh Ani, right? So therefore God is saying to us, I am within the connection in which you are creating in the world. I exist based on your willingness to have me involved with your life. I am connected, I am within the connection in which you create with the world. What does it mean? What does it mean? As much as you'll be willing to give to the world,
you can get back.
This is how much I'm going to expose in that relationship. That's the indicator. As much as I'm going to expose myself to you. You're going to be selfless. God says, I'm going to be there all the time in your life. You're going to be selfish. I'll say you. That's right. That's right. So called the philosophy of a Parasha says that our reality is not just matter, is also spirit. And there's a third layer that it's called, there is Chomer and there is Ruach, right? But then there is another layer which is very important, is what we call Hakdusha Shebamaaseh, the holiness in your action. How holy are your actions? How selfish or selfless? How meaningful? How much do you really mean what you do? Do you do it for yourself, or you do it for others, or you do it because it just needs to be done? Hakdusha Shebamaaseh, you could see in the mitzvot on this parasha, whether it's kibud horim, respecting your parents, leaving the leftovers for the poor people, having mishpat tzedek. You missed a lot, Mr. Psychologist. All this mitzvot of having compassion and so on and so forth are the vessels in which we are able to elevate our physical reality to a level of divine existence or a divine reality. Through this caring about the people that what should I care about? You see a homeless guy in the street, right? Yeah, poor, freezing cold. Give him your jacket, man. Give him your jacket. No, what should I give you? What do I care? You feel like you're superior. God says like this, okay, not a problem. See ya. See ya. You see a guy, a homeless guy, in the summer, like in Manhattan, the thing you could like boil an egg on the sidewalk. I mean, yeah, and also die from infectious disease, but never mind, Go buy him a Coke or something, some iced drinks or something. So buy him a sandwich, give him something to eat, something to drink. What's wrong with you? You don't care. People care about their poodles, about the dogs, more than they care about humans. It's just unbelievable to me.
Anyone?
Excuse me?
Anyone?
What do you mean anyone?
Yehudi or...
Anyone, any human being. Any human being. Any color, any shape, any person. He's a human being. He was or she were created in the image of God, just as you. Just as much as you. How could you deny it? So if you have a group of people that all they do is they killing in the name of God, they're not holy. They're not holy. Maybe they have a hole in the head. And then they're going to tell you, yeah, it's we live in a bad society. We're going to make now here a different set of laws, if you know what I mean. That's not the way it is. The greatness of this country, and listen, many people don't like the United States, even Americans. Well, it's very ungrateful. It's a very good place. It was established on very good ideas. What we did with it and what we're doing with it, this is something else. But you'll see that most of the people who complained about America is people that don't have God in their lives. True God in their lives. Or true believe in something greater than their lives. That's what it is. I don't know, maybe they are out there, but I yet to see a very religious liberal. I don't know. Now, so you want to elevate your life? You want to see God in your life all the time? What's the matter, Doron? You didn't like the children? Gotta eat everything on your plate, buddy. You know what? People will die for this in Auschwitz. You want to see God in your life? Be selfless. Put boundaries. And then you'll see it. Again, as I said to you, when he says, Ani Hashem Elokecha, I am your God, right? That is an indication of how much or how you're going to interact with the society. This is how you're going to interact with God. You can't tell me you're a God-fearing person. You don't care about the suffering of the other person. I don't buy it. I don't care what you do. I don't care how important is what you do. I don't understand that. It's impossible. You're not holy. I don't care. So now it says, "Ve'afta l'reacha kamocha," and you should love your, or care at least. Again, as I said to you, ve'afta is one. You should see. If we're going to translate it into quote unquote my language, ve'afta l'reacha kamocha, it's not just love your fellow human being as much as you love yourself. No, I would translate it to you the way I see it. See the other human being as you would like to see yourself. The way you treat people, that's how you view yourself, and that brings us to the paradox of identity. And I'm not talking about identity that you have to have a unified bathroom. That's not what I'm talking about. So this pasuk, this verse, is maybe the main pasuk in the parasha, but there is a very deep psychological difficulty or dilemma here. How could I love somebody else like I love myself? Especially if you are not whole with yourself. The whole concept of love is one. And if you don't feel one with yourself, if you are not whole with who you are, how can you love somebody else? That's why I keep saying to you time and time again, for those of you who listen, for those of you who don't listen, I don't tell you what to do, I just tell you what I think. How in the world are you going to get married? How are you going to be? Whoa, look who's here, our DDS doctor here. How are you going to be somebody else's other half if you are not complete? How? Did you ever see a wheel? Try to run a wheel or whatever it is when you have missing like a slice of it. It's gone. You can't. You can't even run on a wheel when the tire is blown. Look all around you and see what marriage is all about. So imagine running a car or running a bicycle when a part of the wheel is missing. You can't go. So what do you have there? Did you work on yourself yet? Did you see who you are, what you're about? Why are you rushing to get married? I know why you're rushing to get married. But that's why things look the way they look. You are not really truthful for who you are and what you are. What is that you're offering the other person? You said, "Oh, I'll give you everything." Why everything? You can't even give it yourself because it's all a lie. It's all a mask. You're playing a game. What is this? You know what would happen, for example, let's say you were, let's say for example, I'm reading a book right now by this guy, his name is Charles Falco, and he was, he infiltrated the Vagos, the Mongols, and the outlaws motorcycle gangs. And he describes in his book about how scary it is to live there. Because you are living in a borrowed identity. But then he said something very interesting. At a certain point, you need to keep on reminding yourself that this is not you. You're just there for the part. Because you're going to start believing that. That happens to a lot of people who go undercover. Well, the same thing for us. We play the game so much, we really believe that this is who we are. But this is not really who we are. So how are you going to go get married to somebody else when you don't know who you are? What did you offer? We are talking about being honest, not deceiving people in business. Well, you so-called deceive your partner just as much as, more than anybody else. But guess what? She does the same thing to you.
Bang.
Yeah. If that's the case, I'll tell you what. Get yourself a Honda CB 750, which is an old bike. You'll be better off than to have a life like that. You know this bike, by the way?
CB750.
No, CB 750?
That's CB500.
No, could be CB50. That is by the way, just a sound. That's the motorcycle that broke or dismantled the British motorcycle industry.
CB 750?
750. It's an old bike. It's an old bike. Huh? They're expensive. If you buy a used one now, they're expensive. You have no idea. They're like, $20,000. I mean, they're crazy expensive. But, right? So when we are talking about the ahava, the love of society, of the other people, that love is basically a reflection of your internal relationship with yourself. If you cannot find love and compassion towards other people, I'm going to tell you, you don't like who you are, what you are, and you have no compassion for yourself whatsoever. Here, I said that. I don't care what anybody says. That's what it is. And that's why we live in a society today that it's generated on hate. Not on love, on hate. Because we really hate who we became. And if a person is split, he'll see that in people. Kol hapogem bemumo pogem. If you find blemishes in other people, that means that blemish first of all exists within you. As I told you a million times, when you point your fingers as one finger at someone, there are three fingers that pointed back at you. So whatever you say bad about a person, right, particular person, or I don't, that is really a reflection that it's 3 times exists within yourself. And if the person is shalem, he's whole. Shalem, I told you many times, shalem means in harmony, is a state in harmony with himself, right? He could see also himself reflecting in the other. If a person, for example, is really, let's say, and I'll give you an example of a Baal Tshuva, right? It's a very good, I think, it's a very good example, and not because I said it. If a person is a Baal Tshuva, he sees the other person. Now, if he's a true Baal Tshuva, if he's a external Baal Tshuva, he'll say, this, Rasha, how do you do this? Right? But if he's a true Baal Tshuva, he would say, you know what, I was there, I know what it is, I cannot judge him. I am not God, I cannot judge this person. I didn't want anybody to judge me and call me this name. I cannot call him like this. I did the same thing that he did. Oh, I'm capable of doing, or I'm even capable of doing more. Certain, and especially in extreme situation, in that book, he said, if you really want to know who you are, you're going to find out who you are when you're in jail. The true self comes out. Stressful situation would really bring about really who you are and what you are. Because the show is ending right now because it's a stressful situation, so that's the true person will come out, who he is and what he is. Or everything was a show, or everything was true. So you got to be very careful when you start judging other people or treating other people like this, because everything that you do towards the outside is a reflection of who you feel or what you feel on yourself on the inside. So you got to be very careful, because you're giving a lot of information about who you truly are and how you really feel with yourself by the way you conduct and treat other people. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, that's what it means. So let's just summarize it. So if we're talking about Kedoshim Tiyu ki Kadosh Ani, usually it means because I am. However, in the depth of, if you look at this deep, the Chassidut says many times, your holiness, your Kedusha is what allows my Kedusha, God's Kedusha, to be revealed in the world. When you are becoming holy, you become a chariot, a vehicle to reveal God in the world. And we call it, this kind of behavior, no, come on, choir, Kiddush Hashem. When you act like a mensch, you are acting nice, polite, nice, you are causing Kiddush Hashem, sanctifying God's name. What do you mean sanctifying God's name? Well, God's name is not sanctified, He doesn't need me to sanctify it. But I'm bringing God into this world through the sanctifying of my own ways. People could see God is great. If people don't see God is great, it's because of us. And I keep telling you this all the time. All the time. The Torah is a wonderful, wonderful, unbelievable thing. The light of the Torah helps people see the right way, how to live the right way. If people don't see, and especially our brothers and sisters, don't see the light of Torah, is because we don't reflect it. Just based on what this Parasha said. If there is such resistance to Shmirat Torah mitzvot, especially in the land of Israel, is because we are not doing a good job. Something is missing in our actions, and most likely is that communal responsibility to the other for who he is. We read Parashat Ishmael, right? On Rosh Hashanah, when we are all standing in front of Kadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah. Why of the whole entire Torah we have to pick that part on Rosh Hashanah? The holiest day. Because when the angels came, when Ishmael was dying of thirst, the angel came and what's her name? Hagar was praying to God, They came and said, please Hashem, don't listen to her prayer, because look what his children, his descendants are going to do to your people. They're going to blow them in buses. They're going to butcher them and rape their daughters. Don't listen to them, to her. God says, I know what they're going to do. But right now, is he a wicked person or he is a righteous person? Right now, has he done anything wrong? He hasn't done. Therefore, I'm going to listen to her prayer. And we call it Ba'asher Husham. Right now, what he is. And right now, we need to be able to sanctify God's name. We should not be the judges. There is a judge in place already. God. He is the judge of all judges. I don't need to do his job. My job is not to judge people. My job is to help people. My job is to find God in everything and everyone that comes my way, even if I don't like him. He is also God's creature. So, if we look at this way, without the humanistic moral action, the Kedusha, holiness, is an abstract and far thing for us to reach. Only when a person sanctifies himself with what he's allowed to sanctify himself, in other words, he chooses restraint, he chooses morality, he chooses virtues and values in the world of urges, only then he creates an appropriate dwelling place for God to come into this world. Guys, it's up to us. Let's sanctify God's name. Let's act, let's think, let's behave to bring God's name out. Shabbat Shalom.